Hello and welcome to another hopefully inspired episode of Good Fat Life. Today I am my guest, and part of the reason that I am my guest is because I've had I've had an interesting week, and I kind of wanted to share some of this stuff with you. One of the things that happened, though, wasn't so special. I got bit by a tick. Well, I don't know if you call it bit by a tick, but I went into the bathroom in the morning to brush my teeth, and there was a tick on my chest, kind of. And so anyway, I wanted to scream and yell. I was yelling for my husband, and he was nowhere to be found. So I had to just buck up, use the tools that we talk about in the magazine all the time, take a really deep breath, center my mind, and say, you know what, you can do this. This fear that you've got is not bigger than you are, and you are bigger than the tick. So that said, I got rid of the tick, and I felt a little empowered, but it's also a little creepy to think that these little creatures can come into your house. And what I'm hearing, I just heard from Johnny that they're everywhere right now. Anyways, one of the things that just keeps coming up a lot in every conversation at this lately is stress. Stress and anxiety and concern over what's going on in the world we live in today. You know, whether it's the economy or politics or international relationships, wars. I mean, it's all kinds of things. Job losses, jobs insecurity. It's everywhere. It's rampant. And so I want to talk about a couple things that have helped me kind of stay grounded. I was in meetings this week where dozens of notices had come out for grants that were canceled that had been approved, and I work a lot in the nonprofit world, and so now it's like, oh, your funding is just done. And so people are like, after the shock and disbelief and then anger, it's like, okay, now what do we do? It's almost like going through now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of like going through the death process. There is a process of what people are going through. And I had a really interesting experience this week. It was a cool experience. And so I was with a colleague, and we were working on a project. And she said, oh, you might, there's a meeting that I go to, and it's around happiness, and you might enjoy it. So why don't you come? So I said, sure. And it's based on the Al-Anon principles. It's like the group gathers, and they talk total anonymous, whatever. Who's there and what's said there stays there. And so the first half hour, people would they have 3 minutes, and they would talk about what was bugging them, a problem, an issue, a concern. And it gets really real, really fast. And that was interesting. The other thing that was interesting is that everybody who shared what was going on in their world, it's like at some point in my life, I've been in that same boat. It's like, oh man, can I relate to what you're saying? And then the next half of the meeting is spent, and each person who shared then shares, if they want or not, I mean, again, everything is optional, shared what they were going to do about it, what kind of action they were going to take, or how they were going to shift their perspective on what they had presented earlier. And I have to say, it's an hour, and that is one of the most powerful things I've ever been to. And part of it, I think, is because we all need to be heard. We all want to be heard. And in that hour, everyone was really heard. And there's no cross conversation. You don't say, oh, I get it, or Bob, I did this. None of that. You just listen, and you can still, nod or whatever. But there was just such a sense of being heard, and also that there's people sitting right next to you, across from you, who are going through their stuff too, and and there's a sense of, okay, we're all in this together. And there's something really, really powerful about that. And it was just a great reminder of how important it is to have people in your life, to have friends in your life, to have community in your life where you can freely talk about what's going on with you, and people aren't going to give you advice, and they're not going to judge you, because it's just a safe space to just talk. And often, when we hear ourselves out loud, what we need to do becomes really clear. It's just, that's how our brains work. So that said, I wanted to kind of go through how Good Fat Life could be a resource for you when you're having your own kind of down days or frustration or anger, or just, I'll just say you need a trusted friend in your corner. That's really what Good Fat Life is about. That's who we aspire to be, a trusted best friend. So one of the things, again, and it's like diet and exercise, blah, 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 that can be so boring. But the truth is, when we're stressed, what do we want? We want to eat comfort food. We want to sit on the couch and watch Netflix. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm the first to say that's sometimes where I go. But when I go there, I do it with a really conscious decision. It's like, I just don't feel like eating a salad and going for a walk. I am going to eat, I don't know, chips and guacamole or something, or popcorn. One of my favorites is popcorn with olive oil on it, and sit my butt down on the couch and watch something, Murder in the Building or something, and knit. And that's okay. Or I'm going to turn on music, my favorite music, and turn it up really loud and, just shake things up a bit. Just be intentional. Be intentional about what you need. Don't let that cycle of frustration, anger, sadness, disbelief, whatever's going on, boredom, don't let that bring you down. Be intentional about, your self-care, and then plan in some good meals and get some good sleep, and go for a walk or dance or just turn on music. I was actually this week turning on Eye of the Tiger. I did it by Survivor. I call it the Rocky, and you can't help but feel better and move. So look for those things. We talked about community. Have those friends. Call me. Send me an email. There's a really strong community here looking out for your support and your well-being and your happiness. And we all appreciate somebody being there. I know in the community that I live in that any one of the people I'm around, if somebody called and said, hey, I just need somebody to listen to me, they would show up big time. So I'm going to just throw that out there. So the other thing too is, like, we can be so hard on ourselves, and especially when we're learning. I love being around people that love to learn. In fact, I had friends over for dinner, and when I was in Morocco, I took a class on cooking, Moroccan tangine. So I invited my friends over. I'm going to make this great dinner. Well, the recipe that came from the cooking class, I didn't realize it was like only partially there. Part of the instructions were there. And so I was so worried. And these people are really amazing cooks. And so I was wanting to do something special to thank them for the times that they have us over and make these 5-star delicious meals. And while I know my cooking's not going to be 5-star, I'm thinking, well, maybe that it'll be creative enough that it's interesting. And so everybody has a good time. I found myself like, what the heck am I doing? Why do I put myself in these situations? Blah, 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 blah. And then I took a deep breath and said, these are our friends. They don't care that it's not 5-star. They're just happy to be here and not to have to cook dinner for themselves. It's all fun. It's a reminder that, surround yourself with people who are just happy to be with you, and love the joy of growth and learning. And we all learned a lot. We all learned some really interesting things that evening and had a great time. So be compassionate with yourself. Just take that deep breath and be compassionate. And and I forgot it. I was going to show you one of the other things that's really good for supporting mental health is having meaningful rituals and setting boundaries for yourself. And so I've made a list, and literally it's taken me 3 years to come up with this list. And on the list are things that I want to be sure and do every day, because truthfully, I get busy, I forget, and then I'm kind of mad at myself because I didn't do those things on my list. So do whatever it takes to remind yourself. So I'll set timers in my phone to make me get up, remind myself to get up and move for 5 minutes every hour. to take that drink of water, to, not eat when I walk into the into the kitchen just because I'm in the kitchen and I can. So those are important things to do. And we'll talk more about those. We talk a lot about those things in the magazine. But one of the things, really read Good Fat Life. I was looking at, we have a section called it's our pauses. And for May, and we go through the 8, for work, wellness, spiritual, financial, adventure, community, space, and growth. Those are the 8 kind of pillars that we have. And I love the quote this month is, spring is nature's way of saying, let's party. And Robin Williams said that. So wellness, I'm just going to read a couple of these. Make your own personal bill of rights. Create a list of things you want to do or say that are aligned with the life you want to live. This can be a dynamic document and revised as required. But it's a great confidence builder if you say, these are the things that are important to me. Integrity is important to me, or being on time is important to me. It's your list. But if you even do a Google search of, items to put on your bill of rights, 300 words can come up and you can pick the ones that, resonate with you. Make it fun. Make it fun. I read something the other day for Mother's Day, and it was characteristics I learned from my mother. And it made me stop and think about, what have I learned from my mother and what things are important to me that I got from my mother. One of them is my mother has a real sense of adventure. She has, it's like, let's get up and let's go. And I'm that way too. And I realize I've been that way since I was tiny. I honestly didn't realize that until this week when I read some other woman's blurb on characteristics or qualities she got from her mother. So anyways, so that's another one. Financial. The wealth within you, your essence, is your kingdom. That's by Rumi. So your greatest wealth is within you. Intentionally look for ways to grow your self-improvement habits. And start by reading our book picks on page 17. Everybody in the Good Fat Life community is an avid reader. So there are dozens of books that are reviewed every month, and we can only pick 3. Take time and look at those. Seriously, take time. If you have to stop looking at Facebook or social media or whatever, or I remember when my kids were home. It just took so much time getting through the day with the kids and homework and food and all and my own work. Find those 5 minutes. It really does make a difference, and you really can find it to just take care of your own mental health. And check out our website, goodfatlife.com. Lots of cool things happening. Before we go, I want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors and partners in Good Fat Life, and that is ALG Group. They are CPAs and tax consultants. And I was at a networking meeting this morning, and there were so many people there that were saying, things about, they were just so amazed with the service that AJ's firm provides. They will answer questions like immediately. And even if you're a client or you're not, they want you to get the best tax advice possible. And there was story after story of people who reached out to AJ, and either they did their taxes or they don't do their taxes currently, but they had a question and somebody told them to call them. And it was always a successful outcome, and it always ended in additional dollars in the client's pocket. And it's not that that'll always happen, but at least you know that you're making the right decision for the right reasons. So check them out. On that happy note, go out and live your good fat